Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents with me, your host Valerie, and sometime co-host Miss Purrington. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. We bring you articles and podcasts featuring the best in Austin comedy in all its shapes and formats. Started in 2016, the podcast project brings you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and will usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. Today, I sit down with somebody who has two of the most inventive and creative shows around town, and part of me would like to see those shows go on the road, because I think they're pretty cool concepts for touring comedy shows. And, in addition, every time I hear him do the setup for a bit that involves an airplane, a phone, and a catchy tune, I always get kind of excited, but I think there might be a change in continuing to do that bit, because it is so classic and yet maybe road weary. We'll see. We'll explore that. And this person has probably one of the best collections of tattoos that you'll ever see. And even though that's not necessarily comedy related, I think that is one of his trademark things about him. So we'll talk about all of that today. So please today welcome our guest,
Zac.
No, I know, but I have a particular way that I like to say it.
I was like, does she want me to say it?
No,
I'll say
not
it.
Forget your name. And now I don't want to sound edit this out because it's so funny. And now Comedy Wham presents our guest, Zac Brooks.
Boom. There it is.
I shared with you that I was taking a little different take, and you saw the fear in my eyes, because I'm like, I know there's a specific way that I like to do that, now Comedy Wham presents, and I'm like, and now Zac Brooks. No, that's not how it goes. And you, because you haven't heard the podcast,
right?
You're like, oh shit, she
Do
forgot
I say
my
my
name. Which is probably the most horrifying thing for a guest to think, okay, we've made the arrangements to do the interview. Obviously, I know who you are. Yeah. You know who I am. And it's like, how the fuck does she not know my name?
No, you're all good. You're all good.
So now I'm kind of thinking this might be fun, because now it kind of breaks the ice in a really awkward, uncomfortable way.
No, it's
for
great.
Me. Well, I do like to kick off my interviews by asking my guests one word to describe your past.
One word to describe my past. I don't want to say maybe delinquent. I don't know. I was a bad kid growing up. Fun. I don't know.
It's one of those things where usually the first thing that comes to mind, which you caught yourself on, was the first thing. Yeah. But it started with an S. I can make a guess. Yeah. You could go with that.
Right. Yeah. I was just a bad kid in high school, and I was just horrible to my parents and just stole a bunch of stuff. And I was a bad kid.
Oh man.
I'm better though now. I'm reformed.
Well, that's
reformed
good.
Bad kid.
That's good to hear. You grew up in Houston?
Around Houston.
Okay.
We moved around a lot actually though. I was born in Louisiana. We lived in and I was only there for like 2 years, and then lived around Houston and around Texas. Lived in Bolivia for 3 years.
Wow.
South America. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. My dad, grew up there. He was a missionary kid there. And so, he got an offer to go back for his job. And so I was like 5, when I was like 5, when I was 8, we lived there. But yeah, mostly Houston, grew up around the Houston area. Yeah.
Do you have memories of that time? I mean, 5 to 8, you do get some memories.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I definitely remember towards the end living there. And I used to be like fluent in Spanish when I was a kid, because all of my friends that were like Bolivian kids spoke Spanish, so I picked it up. And then by the time I got into I was like I think it was like 14, I was like taking high school Spanish. And I was like, oh, I know Spanish. And then I was like, oh, I don't. I've completely forgotten Spanish.
Oops.
I don't remember any of this.
Oh, man. Yeah. Bummer. It would have helped with classes.
Yeah.
Do you have any early comedic memories?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of just, I did comedy in Houston for a year before I moved to Austin. And there was, the first open mic I did was at a Sherlock's, which is
Can I actually stop you? Cause what I mean by that is something that growing up that struck you as, this is a funny moment and it stands out.
Okay. Gotcha.
We'll get to the...
Yeah, I was always kind of like a class clown. But yeah, I mean, when we were kids, we were just talking about Girls Only Boys. We would do prank calls all the time, stuff like that. But yeah, nothing specifically that I can remember, but yeah, it was always about trying to make each other laugh and, calling whoever. We would take turns prank calling each other's parents because we thought that was really funny. But stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And are there influences to your comedy that you remember from those days?
Yeah. I mean, I used to watch all of the Comedy Central presents when I was a kid. Like I would go through all of them. I remember one that I really loved was, Dove Davidoff's, who's, super funny, but his original presents was like my favorite. It was up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were a bad kid through high school.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're in Houston and you decide to do an open mic at this point, or do you?
I did. I actually did try when I was 18. Me and my buddy Andrew Cooksey, who I host When We Were Young with.
Okay.
That was actually the first time I did an open mic. I don't really consider it when I started comedy because we did so bad. Like we brought most of the crowd. They were our friends and, they laughed at the other comics, but they couldn't even pity laugh at us. That's how bad it was really bad. And it scared me away from comedy for 3 years. I didn't go back till I was 21. Oh, wow. Yeah.
And was this your gang of prank caller friends, or is this a different gang of friends?
These were friends that I knew at the time, a lot of Andrew's friends too. And we were like, oh, we just got to do comedy. We got to try it. And, I think we listened to Final Countdown 3 times in the car before we went into the open mic, and it was just bad. Yeah, we had no worldview of anything. And
so why did you, other than just the lark of we should do it, why did you do it? Comedy was something I always loved. It took a while for it to occur to me that it was something that I could try to do. I just didn't even think about me doing it as a possibility. And I did theater stuff throughout school, but I just never thought about doing stand-up. That always really scared me. And, I think it was honestly just having somebody to do it with. I think both me and Andrew talked about it. And once he was down to do it, I was like, okay, I'll do it with you. But yeah, after that, I was like, okay, comedy's not for me. That went horribly. But when I went back to try an open mic again when I was 21, I got one laugh at the end of my set and I was hooked. I was like, okay, I can do it. I got something, so. I'm fascinated by the idea that because I didn't realize this, you had done theater. So you were comfortable performing. But was it just the lack of response that brought you down?
I think it was just performing something that I had written was the difference. I was able to go on stage for theater stuff, especially in a group of people, and do something that somebody else wrote,
Yeah. So you were kind of exposing yourself and you didn't like the lack of response.
Yeah, exactly. It was something, it's it was all me. I was the one performing it. I was the one who wrote it and it got nothing. And so, I think that's what scared me the most was that it's all you. And there's not a cast up there you can blame it on.
Yeah.
It's not the writing that you can blame. It's all you, So that's probably what scared me out of it.
So you did this with your friend. And I'm just curious, since you dipped your toe in and you ran straight out, how did he do? And did you both have this?
Okay, yes. So he didn't do comedy again after that either until I moved to Austin, and I moved in with him, and he started coming out to open mics with me. And then he started, and he still does tons of comedy.
Yeah.
We host that every second Monday at Spider House. When we were young, we do that. I think we were both we were done with comedy.
Yeah.
After that open mic. We were not having it.
So you're nursing your wounds for 3 years, basically.
Yeah.
And so the next open mic that you did was in Houston, or now you?
It was in
moved?
Houston.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you decide to go back, given 3 years of abject quitting?
Yeah. I think it was another situation where I had a buddy that was he doesn't do comedy anymore, but, he really wanted to try to do an open mic. And I already done that horrible one when I was 18, but I agreed to do it with him. And I think we went 1 week, and the list was really long, and we were at the end of it. So we just left. Honestly, we probably just were scared to do it, but we were like, oh, we have work in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the next time we went, my buddy Steve Koch got on stage and did it, and he didn't do that well at all, but he got off, and he was like really excited that he did it at all. And I was like, okay, well, if he did it, I've got to do it now too. So yeah. And I think it might have been, 3 years of just like thinking of jokes that might work, and so I think there was a couple in there that worked.
So you knew to try different stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I definitely, after that, I mean, I was hitting open mics I think I dropped out of college like a month into doing comedy.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was going to community college in like Conroe, which is north of Houston. It was like a 45-minute drive to get downtown for the open mic. And so it was just too much. And I was sitting in class, like, only thinking about jokes. I wasn't even paying attention to school at all.
That's
crazy.
So,
I dropped out and then moved closer into downtown Houston, or like inside the loop. And, I hit open mics every single night for at least a year in Houston. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm always going to pursue the little intellectual curiosities. Do you kick yourself for those 3 years, knowing that you?
No, I think I probably needed it. I don't think I was like, when I was 18, I just didn't have, I just didn't know what to write jokes about. And I just, I think I needed to grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to figure out kind of what type of comedy I want to do. And, just to even start that whole process.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And how did you settle on what kind of comedy you would do?
I don't know. I don't know if I really settled on it, but I remember listening right before I went back after that 3 years. I was listening to, I think, Hannibal Buress's first album. And that was the first time I was like, oh, comedy can be a lot of different things. It doesn't have to be like this, structured set, dot, dot, dot. It can be weird and kind of out there. And, it can be a lot about cadence, more than, or the way you say something, or the words you choose. Certain words are just funny. But stuff like that, like I said, I just didn't think about all the complexity of how you can do stuff like that. But I love that Hannibal Buress first album. I think he did a lot of really cool stuff in it. And, but yeah, that kind of opened my brain up to think of different ways you can write jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Houston, well, what time period are we talking about? Because it seems to me like Houston has an up and down as far as the strength of its comedy scene.
Right.
And what era were you?
Yeah, so this was 2012.
Okay.
And I did comedy in Houston for a year, but there wasn't many shows. There were 2 clubs in town. And I got a little bit of work at the Showcase, which is now called the Joke Joint, I think. They changed the name. And then the Houston Improv, who had like their kind of group of people that they went to. They didn't really bring in new local comics to host.
Okay.
And there were no like real local shows. And so, I mean, I moved to Austin because we were at an open mic, off of Fairview. It was called the Fairview, Fairview off Fairview. We were telling jokes to each other, and it was like, you know, me and like 6 other comics, and we're just like doing wordplay at each other because we're just trying to make each other laugh. Yeah. And I was just frustrated, and I decided to move to Austin. Did you look at any other cities to move to? No, not really, because I had been to Austin a lot. I'd visited Austin a lot. I had done like Cold Town. I remember Ramin was running it at the time, and he let me do Cold Town, and I'd done the Cat Mic a lot. We came out of town to do that a bunch. And so Austin just had the best stage time, it seemed like, in the immediate area in Texas. So, Austin was a good choice. And Houston has since gotten so much, like if Houston was, what it's like now back then, I probably wouldn't have moved because now they have the Secret Group. They have some amazing shows that they're putting on. Yeah. We just weren't we weren't putting in the work when I was in Houston. Like we weren't putting on our own shows or anything like that. And they really built something great out there, but I definitely opted out of the building of that, you know. I decided to just come to Austin when they already had it. So. Yeah. And you've built 2 great shows. So there's one show is When We Were Young, and I think that one's a newer show compared to the Midnight Peep Show. Yes. Okay. It's a newer, And my research says that Midnight Peep Show was actually with you and Ali Amron. And it used to be, and it used to be, at New Movement at midnight on Saturday. It's not on. It's just Peep Show now. It's not. Okay. Yeah, so that's we used to. Yeah, we did it at New Movement, that was. Well, we now have to like edit the because Peep Show, we show vintage porn. We have to edit it because they serve drinks at Spider House. So there's a law about serving drinks and showing nudity. But back in New Movement, it was BYOB, so we could show everything and I didn't have to edit it at all. But I thought it was a really funny idea to just show people porn because in a large group, because it's something everybody's so familiar with, but not as a group, you know, it's always like a you thing. Right. And I also thought that comics are so good at alleviating tension with jokes that at any like weird moments comedy would come out of it too. So because for whatever reason, schedule wise and otherwise, I've never seen either of your shows, but I hear great things about them. But tell me what do you do during? So you watch the vintage porn, right? And you have 4 comics that come on, and what do they do? Basically like Mystery Science Theater it. So so they're we're just set up on either side of the screen. Up top we do like an interview portion with them where we ask them some questions about what kind of porn they like or what's the first porn they saw. And then we get into like vintage clips and stuff like that, and everybody has a mic, and it's just, you know, say something funny if you think of something funny, and And now you co-host with Lisa Friedrich. Right. Okay. Yes. Ali moved back to San Antonio, and Peep Show was on hiatus from New Movement for like 3 months or something. So I decided to move it to Spider House, where they were really great. Their Spider House is awesome. We did show like the first time we did it, I did it the normal way, and they're like, "Oh, that was great. There's a crowd here that's good. You can't show penetration." And I was like, "Oh, what? We can't?" And they're like, "No, that's illegal." Wow. And so, it ended up it's now a lot more work that I have to censor it and edit it, but so it's great. Spider House has been really good to both me and Lisa, and then me and Andrew have our show When We Were Young there too. So. Yeah. And which Andrew? Because there's a million Andrews doing comedy. Yeah. Andrew Cooksey. One of 8 Andrews. Yeah. One day there's going to be
a show called just the Andrew Show, and it's going to be the
Andrews,
rotating Andrews in the scene.
We got enough of them.
There are a lot. Yeah. Okay, and when we were young, now I've talked to people who've been on that show, so I know a little bit, slightly more about that one. You actually ask the comics to go find pictures from when they were young.
Yeah, childhood photos, yeah.
And then it's essentially a roast show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, me and Andrew go up there and we just kind of roast each other's pictures. And then, the comics will come on and they'll do like a 6-minute set. Mm-hmm. And then we go through their photos and then me and Andrew just talk to them about it. And it honestly wasn't intentionally supposed to be a roast show. It was just supposed to be a show that you show your childhood photos and we talk about them. But then it just got into where we're just mean about the photos. That was the funniest part of it every time. So yeah, it's essentially a roast show now. Yeah.
So how long has Peep Show been going, and how long has When We Were Young been going?
I think we started Peep Show like 3 years ago, maybe. Yeah. And it's been off and on. So there's been breaks. And then When We Were Young, I think we've been doing for about 2 years now, close to. And that started at, we did a couple at Mr. Tramp's actually. And that started just because the owner asked me if I had any show ideas, and I was thinking of that one. And so we decided to do that. After a couple there, we moved it. And then that was at New Movement. It was at New Movement for a little bit, and now it's at Spider House. So, but yeah, I think it's been about 2 years now.
Have you started thinking about shopping these shows to festivals and taking it on the road?
Yeah, I've thought about it, definitely with Peep Show. The only, I guess it's not really a hang up, but the only thing that we've done Peep Show in a couple different spots before. We did it at Kick Butt for altercation comedy. And the issue that we run into is like, it's a tech heavy show. So if the tech's not quite like, they don't have a screen, I can't do either of them. Or if, we need somebody to run the laptop, or I need to be able to mirror my laptop for like when we were young to show the pictures and stuff like that. So also, When We Were Young might be, it's kind of hard to get it together because you have to find comics that have childhood photos. Yeah. And that could take them a while to get those. Maybe it's just comics are lazy, or they're back home. The pictures are back home with, at their parents' house or whatever it is. But yeah, no, I've thought about it. I mean, it would be great if I could do the show on festivals and stuff. But yeah, I mean, especially Peep Show. Peep Show would be great, I think. When We Were Young might be a little harder to pull off technically, just because getting people's pictures in time and putting them up and stuff.
Well, I would endorse the idea. I mean, when I've seen unique shows at festivals, and I think about what you're doing, to me it seems like it's a very viable candidate for that. And when you're doing festivals, it seems like most of them have those technology issues worked out. But maybe
it's honestly just finding a festival that's on board with it to where they make sure everything's worked out, and they, they care about the tech as much as I do, but yeah, I mean, there's if we could take it to a couple different places, that would be cool. That'd be awesome. I've submitted to festivals before, but I think it's a completely different process to submit a show than, but yeah, we'll see in the future. That could be really fun.
Do you think about other show ideas?
Sometimes I do. A lot of times I think about, because I got tired of just normal stand-up shows, running normal stand-up shows, doing my stand-up on my own shows. I just got really tired of it. So I was thinking about how there's a couple different ways that you can, if you're not going to do a normal stand-up show, there's a couple different ways that you can do it. So you can put a filter on content that already exists. So like 7 minutes in Purgatory. It's a perfect example. So that's just people doing their stand-up. The stand-up's already written. It's already there. But it's just, a situation that makes it funnier. Yeah. And it's not normal stand-up. It's completely different.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's the best option if you can do something like that. Or you can always try to rely on your comics for new content. If they're not doing stand-up, if they're writing something else or doing a sketch or something like that, that's a lot of work to put on the comics. A lot of times they don't do it all. Yeah. Or you can focus on yourself to make all the content, write all the bits and all that stuff. And then that's a lot of work for you. So if there's a way, I always try to think of a way that I can take what already exists and make it, something that's not just a normal stand-up showcase.
Yeah.
So a lot of time, I think I don't have any show ideas ready to go, but that's usually what I think about when I'm thinking about if I want to do a new show, okay, well, how can this be different, but also not a whole lot of work for everybody involved.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's just genius part is if you can find that magical combination.
Right. Yeah. 7 Minutes in Purgatory is genius. I even, asked Ian Aberson if I could I asked him if he would be willing to have an Austin version of that show because I love that idea so much. He was like, "Man, it's kind of my baby," so I wouldn't. I'm like, I completely get that.
Yeah.
But that's the perfect example of taking normal stand up and making it something completely different. Yeah.
Well, you opened the door by saying that you want to avoid things that are tired and have been done.
Right.
And before I turned on the mics, we were talking about I'll call it the world famous.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Bit that you do. And, is it online if people want to see it?
Yeah. I think there's a Vimeo of it. And I think it's on SoundCloud too, just the audio recording.
Okay.
But it's online. It's out there.
So it's a genius bit where, and I don't want to give too much away because if you see it in person, it is so magical and so well done, but it involves you being in an airplane.
Right.
It involves you teeing up some audio that you play on your phone and you just listen silently to this audio. And I've seen it evolve, where your facial, gestures just, they make it so much better with the audio that comes through. But, as you admitted before, we turned on the mics. It is, you've had that joke for a really long time now.
Right.
And I remember seeing you the first time and seeing that joke. And that was, maybe 4
years ago? Yeah.
Okay.
I probably had it for about that long. Yeah.
And I don't know how that bit was born. And if you want to share how that bit was born, and then we can talk about, your existence and relationship to that joke when it is so recognized by the comics and so recognized probably by the Austin community that sees you because you do perform at CAP regularly and, they see it. Yeah.
Yeah. The bit started with, I just thought it was funny that it was basically the idea between, people feel comfortable falling asleep on a plane, but not, I realized not so much on a bus. It's kind of like if, okay, you can, afford a plane ticket. You're in the air with me. I'll fall asleep next to you. That's fine. But on a Greyhound, people are kind of on their toes, but yeah, so it started with that. I think the first time I did a version of that joke, there was, it was just audio of me, hitting on a girl.
Okay.
And then later the song came in because I had downloaded an app on my phone that's a loop machine essentially. And I was playing around with it. I was like, oh, okay, this could go into that bit. And so, then I just started, I recorded that little thing and then, it really worked out. I don't think I've re-recorded it since, so it's been the same.
Yeah,
I should probably redo it. I might make it a little more fresh, but
was the response immediate? Because I know when I saw it, I'm like, this is just genius.
Yeah, it hit pretty hard when the first time I did the song. Just the audio did not. They were not. Yeah, when I was just like talking, there was not as big of a.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just the building of it. But yeah, it was my closer for a long time. It was like my go-to for a long time. I don't try not to do it as much anymore because it does feel like worn out to me. Like I've done it a lot. But I don't want to quit doing the joke. So I'll do it. Like if I'm headlining something, I'll do it. Or if I'm, doing a longer set of Cap, I might do it. But yeah, I don't do it in the contest anymore. I did it in the contest a couple of years and I just refuse to do it now. Just because I have done it. It's like, I feel like I've done it way too much. I'm tired of hearing it. And so every time I do it, I'm like,
So it's lost its luster for you. And how does that feel when you know that it's such a great thing, but you have to slowly retire it or?
Yeah. It's the same with all jokes, It's, you have good jokes and eventually, you have to write better ones and new ones. And, but yeah, no, it is like it, I remember when I wrote that joke, it kept me going for a while. I was just really excited about it. Yeah. And now it's like, that one bit that, it's like, oh man, I can just like see the comics' faces in the back sometimes if like last year I was like, comics, I could see them just be like, oh, this bit again. Yeah. Well, and it's like, it's also like, it does also kind of feel like, not cheating, but I am just like pulling out my phone and playing something that I recorded earlier. It has saved me a lot when sometimes if I've drank too much and they put me on later than I thought I was going to go on. Yeah. It's great because then like sober me from the past like takes over and then I can just hang out for the last couple minutes. But yeah, it's still probably one of the favorite jokes I have, but it is just tired to me. So I'm not going to be doing it as much for sure.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're ending a relationship.
It is,
with something that brought you all that excitement up early, and then you see each other every day. You're, oh, I'm so over you.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Well, and also it doesn't hit like it used to, honestly, because it is got a very. Because it starts with the girl, right? So
and these days, that's true,
right? So I really have to preface it when I do it now that it's like. I'm not doing anything rapey here. Don't, but just the fact that like a girl's asleep next to me on a plane and I'm like putting headphones in her ears. People are like, what is going on?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well,
but they usually, when they hear the song, they're not, but yeah. Yeah.
So how do you, work on writing new things?
I'm a really slow writer, actually. And I write stuff that sticks out to me. Like a lot of times I'll think about like a certain idea for like weeks. And if something comes of it, something does. And if it doesn't, it's whatever. Yeah. I think I just try to I do feel like I have maybe like like there's comics that are very loose and try new stuff all the time and they're riffing on stage. There's comics that are very prepared. It's kind of like that spectrum, and it'd be probably best to be in the middle there. But I'm probably more on the very prepared side, I would say. I don't know. I kind of really like to know that I like to really feel like a bit's going to work before I try it, which is probably not the best. I should just be trying things and seeing if they work. But I'll think about something for a long time before, and a lot of times I'll write a joke or think of something that I don't think is good enough, and I'll never say it on stage. And that might just be my own fear of having a joke bomb. I just don't want that to happen. But yeah, I'm definitely a slow writer when it comes to that. I definitely should write more too, honestly, because I don't I've never like sat out and like wrote anything I wrote, and just like I don't use like pen and paper like that. I'll just think about it in my head and I'll name it, and if it's good enough, I should remember it.
There's somebody that has that school of thought. I wish I could remember the name, but I've heard that once before. That's like, if it's good enough, then
it should be in my head if it's good enough. But all my jokes like are just in my phone. I have them backed up on my email too, but it's just like, they're just named,
So you don't write on stage. You write ahead of time, and
well, I have an idea of what I want to do. Sometimes if I'm very comfortable on stage and very loose, I'll just riff and try different stuff. But for the most part, I have a good grasp on what I'm gonna try and where it's gonna go and stuff like that. Yeah.
I want to follow up on that, but for context, I want to go back to your shows. How often are those shows?
They're both monthly. So, When We Were Young is every second Monday at Spider House, and Peep Show is every second Wednesday.
Okay.
At Spider House.
Oh, so your second weeks are intense.
Yeah, that's where we just kind of grouped them together. It was like easy to just get them out of the way and
you
like
can coast a little bit.
Yeah, hang out for a month and get back to it. Yeah.
Because I wanted to make an observation if one came out about how you fit in hosting the shows with writing new material or coming up with new material, given how slow you think it takes you to write new stuff.
Right. I think that's a lot of the reason why I wanted to start Peep Show, because it's just I don't have anything really written ready to go when I do Peep Show. It's just talking, and I remember doing that because when we started Peep Show, it was like the first half was stand up that the comics did, and the second half was the vintage porn. The crowd's kind of got like, oh, you promised us a porn show, and this is just a stand-up show. Like they feel like they got tricked into watching normal comedy. I'm like, it's coming later, trust me. But it's I think it helps me a lot to be able to do that. I think it helps me with how quick my brain works on stage and stuff like that. Lisa is really good at improv, and so she's really easy to work with. She always has a good question to ask or something to say. And so, with When We Were Young, the jokes are a little more written out, but it's still, not my stand up, which I think it helps me to have stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. We're going to take a little intermission here and talk about your tattoos.
Okay.
Because I think that is another element that is really interesting about you. Because again, seeing that bit the first time, you became instantly memorable. And that was 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And you didn't have a lot of tattoos.
No.
But you had some. I
did have some, yeah.
So why do you think you've just latched onto, and they're amazing tattoos. They're very, Thanks. I was describing them to somebody because I've got visitors coming into town and they want to get a tattoo. Mm-hmm. And they just want to go to any random place. And I'm like, I really didn't think that's how you got tattoos.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that. Yeah.
I guess if you're drunk enough,
right?
You look sober to the tattoo artist, they'll probably let you do that. But yours are very colorful, and they're all so connected. I mean, I think all tattoos are connected to what's going on in a person's life. But I remember when you first got Wallace, Wallace tattoo. Mm-hmm. That was a big deal. But then you've gotten ones that are related to Arby's because you lost a bet with Nick.
Well, Nick actually has the Arby's one.
Oh, he's got the
I have the Wendy's one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's whimsy to them.
And they've definitely gotten. They're just tons of them are just dumb and random. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of them that just a lot of them are actually just like a spatial thing. Like once I started getting more, like, oh, what would fit here? Mm-hmm. Oh, this is actually like the exact size of a Cheez-It. So I got it. Like there's like this is a Cheez-It, but
oh my God.
it's just this, and this were already here. So it's like, a spatial thing. And they're already silly and dumb anyway. So I've just been adding to them. Yeah. Probably, my favorite is the, pigeon lady from Home Alone 2.
Oh, okay.
That might be one of my favorites.
And why is it your favorite?
I don't know. I also have, Boo Radley on this other arm. I really like characters that seem crazy at first and then end up being great characters.
Yeah.
It's kind of, yeah. I don't even know if I made that connection when I got them, but yeah. Those might be, I don't know. I love that. I remember watching Home Alone 2, that pigeon lady was like one of my favorite characters. And I was just like, let's get that. Yeah. When I was thinking of, at some point, and at this point, I'm just getting stuff done on my legs that like the guys at the tattoo shop I go to are drawing up. Like, I every once in a while I'll go in and like tell them I want this specific thing.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm just like getting stuff out of their book and just filling up spots because I'm almost completely out of ideas when it comes to tattoos. So. And
are you out of real estate?
No, I still got my whole back. I've got my stomach, and I've got some room open on my legs. And
so you're like open to the idea of just getting it's a full
I'm probably gonna
deal.
Yeah, I've already got an appointment for my stomach coming up in June. But yeah, I'm probably gonna just get my arms and my legs. And I think I'm gonna keep it like if I ever have to go to court for anything, I can wear a suit and not they can't see it. I don't think I'm gonna get my hands or my neck.
I have
or my
noticed
face.
That when you were performing at CAP, you're their conservative style and mostly covered up.
Yeah. I usually wear a long sleeve shirt at CAP, but that's mainly. I think that's a lot of just because Margie's like, you should wear a nicer shirt. Oh. So I'm like, okay, all right, I will.
Because none of them are offensive, I don't think.
Right? No, none of them are offensive. I wouldn't. No.
And I'm fascinated by the idea because I don't have any, and I always wonder, if I would regret it if I did. And now you have so many. Do you have any regrets about any of them, or you just they're all like your little children? You love them all.
I don't know. I have some like the first tattoos I got when I was like 18. Some of them are really dumb, but I also have like on my leg, like. On my ankle, I have established in 1990 and like really bad, like gray wash. It's just like it's not that great of a tattoo, but I do have like when I was filling up spots on my leg, the tattoo guy we were talking about, I was like, you should just put haha and put an arrow pointing down at it. So I'm like, I do make fun of it, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say I regret any of them. There's definitely some that, I wouldn't get today,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I wouldn't say I regret any tattoos.
So my challenge to you is there any way that we can get some kind of tattoo / comedy show crossover concept, since you're so good at coming up with creative show ideas? Something, because I think you are the comedy scene expert when it comes to tattoos.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That would be interesting. Yeah, well, and I do get all of the tattoo shop I go to is connected to Spider House, so it's like connected to the patio. Yeah, so they're right there. I don't know. Yeah, that's something to think about possibly. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, okay.
Well, how could
taking somebody to get a tattoo, or almost a roast idea of like somebody's picking on somebody's tattoo. Anyway, have fun with that one. Yeah. Do something.
There's something there.
You have going back to traditional comedy now for a bit. When I was doing my research for you, you've opened for some pretty big names. I know you've opened for Joey Coco Diaz. You've opened for Big J Okerson.
Yep.
I think Big J, you opened for him this past spring. And you've done festivals as well. How, where do you see yourself navigating the continuing to do
opening for the big names at CAP, presumably, and doing more festivals. Is that something that you do want to do, or?
Yeah, I definitely want to start submitting to some more festivals coming up for sure. I don't know. A lot of times comics are like, oh, you should submit for that. You need to submit for that. And then I let the date pass me by. And, we have, me and my girlfriend have like 3 chickens, 2 cats, and a big dog. And so it's just, sometimes can be hard to get away from the house for even like a whole weekend. But yeah, festivals are, it's definitely the way to go. As far as comics that have been going out to more and more festivals and coming back, they have such a good time that I'm like, man, I should do more of those, not just wait for like Moon Tower every year and just try to do that. But yeah, definitely, I want to try to do more festivals, and I want to try to start trying to feature at more clubs around, because I've only featured at CAP pretty much. I've hosted at a couple different in Houston and stuff like that, but yeah, I think definitely trying to get out there. Austin can be so nice with comedy, and it's such a good, there's always people out. There are always great crowds. Yeah. It's like easy to stay in that little bubble and just enjoy yourself. But it's good to get out. That's definitely, I'm definitely, trying to do that this coming year for sure.
Have you done touring of your own?
A little bit, just like stuff that me and my buddies have put together. I did a little tour through the South with Nick Merriweather and Brian Ziola when I was in Austin. They were both living in Houston, but I was in Austin at the time. But that was really fun. Yeah, it was good. Other than that, no, I'll go to Houston some, usually like once a month or something like that. But not like a whole lot of touring. I just, travel expenses and stuff like that. And it's honestly, the biggest thing about it is I'm just lazy when it comes to work. Like, I love the comedy. I love the telling jokes part. Yeah. But the work end of it, I always lack on it. So, like, setting up a tour and doing all that stuff, it's, yeah. It's,
at least you're honest with yourself.
Right. If I'm going to be real, it's mostly that. But yeah, I'd love to do more, at the same time. And I think it's just about, growing up in comedy a little bit and realizing that you can't just hang out with your friends in Austin and drink and tell jokes. You got to be able to get out there too. And yeah.
How, since now you are in my estimation, one of the elder statesmen in the Austin comedy scene.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'll take that.
How have you seen the scene change over the last 5-6 years since you've been here?
It's gotten, especially with like Moon Tower, the more popular Moon Tower's gotten, the better it is. There's more industry and, there's just more people in general. There's so many funny people that moved to Austin to do comedy. Yeah. I just wasn't used to that in Houston. It was like, we're all from Houston. We're all doing comedy in Houston. Yeah. That's how it was. Yeah. But in Austin, it's like, I'm from St. Louis, or I'm from, you know what I mean? And they're all very funny people. And there's the amount of shows that have been since I moved here. There were still a lot of shows when I moved here, but just the amount of different stuff that people are trying, I think it's great, I think spaces are being like Spider House or like Fallout now is giving comics a lot of opportunities to try stuff and do stuff that they want to do, like, Sandbox and, Waterbed, stuff like that. That's just not a normal stand-up show. There's other stuff going on. And I think when you give a comic, free range like that, a lot of really cool stuff can happen. Right. And, so yeah, I think the shows have gotten better. And I think, it just feels like I don't want to say double the scene it was when I got here, but it feels like it's really exploded as far as like, the amount of comics that are here crushing it and the amount of industry that comes out because of Moon Tower and because of CAP and all that. Right. But yeah, Austin's great.
Now you moved to Austin to pursue comedy. Are you in the frame of mind at all to think about moving elsewhere for comedy?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, obviously the two moves are LA or New York, but, I don't think, I'm not like in any rush really, because I think there's a lot of great stuff to still be done in Austin. And I think there's a lot of cool stuff that could happen from Austin.
Yeah.
I think you could get jobs in those other cities from Austin, but yeah, I love New York, and I've visited, New York and LA for comedy multiple times, and I love New York. If I did have to pick where I'd probably go to LA, because it seems like I think I know more comics in LA at this point. A lot of awesome comics have moved out there. So I probably would go with that. But, yeah, I'm not in any rush right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have pegged you for a New York person. I don't know. I actually don't know why I would have, but
yeah, I would honestly, I would prefer to go. I would probably prefer to live in New York, but, I don't know. When you're moving for comedy, I think you kind of got to weigh your connections in each city and see, what might be easiest for you to get stage time. Because getting stage time in LA and New York can be really hard when you're just moving there, especially if you don't know that many people. And that's the thing I realize a lot of times when I visit, it's like, I could maybe move out to one of these cities, but the amount of stage time I get to practice what I'm doing is going to get at least cut in half, right away. And so, I want to make sure I'm really ready to go out there and have a similar situation that I have here now with the amount of stage time I can do, and not just do like the 70-person open mic at, the Hollywood Improv or whatever.
Yeah. And you have those chickens, the cat and the dog.
Yeah,
and
that's the other thing too. Yeah. Our dog's like just about to turn a year old. He's big. He's a big dog. So he probably wouldn't do too well in New York, and LA is hard to get a yard without having a lot of money. But, the same time, Austin's just, it's all right for me right now. I'm definitely enjoying it. And, maybe in, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, if there's a good reason to move out there,
Sure. With the local comics, I usually like to ask about their relationship to FPIA. You've done it, every year, I imagine.
Yep.
And I know you've made it to semifinals. I don't remember if you've made it to finals.
Yeah, I did 1 year.
Okay. And so what kind of relationship do you have with that whole contest thing?
Yeah, it's, the contest is great. It's just stressful. If you let it get to you, it can be, upsetting. But the truth is, it's not, I think everybody gets really freaked out because it is really the only time that we're ranked, by some type of authority that we've given power to rank us, Otherwise you're just kind of floating around, it's kind of hard to see where you're at against other people because, comedy is not always a contest. And comedy it's kind of a flawed idea to begin with, just a contest of comedy, because, there's a lot of things that, it's that 6 minutes, there's tons of comics that like give them 20 and they're winning, because they have stories or they have, have a really good feature set or something like that. There's a lot of comics that, like Cubis or somebody like that it's like, Cubis doesn't do 6-minute sets. He does, but it's not, it's really a contest that is built for an open micer or somebody who's used to doing that amount of time and has the tightest jokes fit into that 6-minute, spot. But yeah, the contest is fun. It's always fun. It can be a little stressful, but it's just that set, that night, those judges. So, I I like to think that I don't let the contest get to me, but I mean, each year it is a little stressful. It's like you definitely at least want to make it to semis. You don't want to, like last year I didn't make it out of prelims, I don't think. Which was the first year I hadn't made it to semis, and I was like, it messed me up more than I thought it would, honestly.
Wow.
But, I mean, the next day I was over it, cause it's just, you gotta move on. I mean, it's just a contest. The only way to escape the contest is to win one person a year gets the opportunity to escape the contest. One.
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
yeah, it's like, if there's one life raft and there's like 250 people on a boat,
Yeah.
all doing their best 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And I'm sure you've seen from, the years that you've done it, how much the scene has grown. We were talking earlier about the scene, how it's changed, and just looking at the number of people that enter that contest.
right.
It was over 250 or about 250 this year.
Yeah, it's kind of like the census of Austin. But a lot of people come out of the woodwork for it that I've never met or seen, and they don't come back out after that, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, the contest has just been growing and growing. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of how many prelims nights there were, but it was a lot. Yeah, it just goes all month. It's insane.
The print seems to get smaller and smaller every year.
Yeah, the font.
Like, I got to get the
the
magnifying glass just to read the names.
Yeah, soon it's just going to be like a couple pages. They're not going to be able to fit it all on one.
Yeah, they should just give that idea up. Well, I'm going to give you a chance to plug everything in just a moment, but I'd like to start wrapping these down by asking my guests one word to describe your future.
Oh, okay. One word to describe my future. Uncertain? I don't know. Who knows? I'd like to say bright, but I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. So, yeah.
Come up with new shows.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Tattoo show.
Tattoo show. There
All
we
the
go.
comics have to get a tattoo.
Oh my goodness. That'd be pretty intense. Well, that is a wrap on Comedy Wham presents Zac Brooks. Tell us where we can find you on social media, promote your shows, dates, times, all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Zac Brooks, just ZAC, no H or K. On Instagram at Zac_Brooks. And then I have the 2 monthly shows at Spider House. Every second Monday, it's When We Were Young. Every second Wednesday, it's Peep Show. Both of those are at 9. And come out, have a drink, get a tattoo.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was a tattoo shop attached to the...
It's great. It's really good. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's it all kind of happened by coincidence. I kind of followed an artist over there from another shop, and I was like, oh, I know Spider House really well. I perform there all the time. He's like, yeah, there's a tattoo shop up there.
Wow.
And yeah, it's like it's really convenient because I'm already there a lot. So
yeah, I'll have to send my friends there because this random, it doesn't matter. It's just not going to fly. I just don't get it. Anyway, well, we hope you've enjoyed learning about how Zac got to be the comedic genius that you heard today, just as much as I have. Be sure to visit comedywham.com and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Comedy Wham, and like our Facebook page. You can listen to past interviews on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Review us while you're at it, please. This has been Comedy Wham presents Zac Brooks. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thank you, Zac.
thank you.